Hey, what is up, you beautiful recruiters, headhunters, search for owners, and everybody else watching this today? Welcome to Headhunters Live, back from our July 4th holiday. And we've got a great show for you today, all about applicant tracking systems. But before we dive into all that, I want to introduce you to all the usual, to the hosts, right? Everybody knows me, David Stephen Patterson. You may call me DSP. We also have right over here the best looking man in the biz, who, by the way, I want to find out what kind of product you use in your hair.
So there's nothing in here now. This humidity is crazy on my hair. But right now there's nothing in it. But I do have, usually
let me say this.
Yeah, how is it for you?
I just shaved my head more because I was having the same thing. But I had to call Chris on some business last week. So we FaceTimed or we Facebook. Oh my God. When this guy's not groomed for the show, granted there's no product, but you're groomed. His hair, I've never seen him looking like that. Dare I say you look bad? No.
I looked like it was a while. Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it on you. I was in shock.
I was not camera ready.
Now, so this is Chris Wessel. That's like been in the business. By the way, a little tidbit about him. If he was just a little more humble, he'd be perfect. Now, over here we have Neil Lebovitz. And for Neil, humility is his best quality. Neil over here is my brother from another mother. And Neil is the founder of Boss, Back Office Staffing Solutions. In fact, before we get into everything else, I do want to mention our sponsors. We're going to have Daniel Miller on here. He's the founder of RecruiterPM. We're going to talk about all the applicant tracking systems. But before we do so, before we dive into it, I do want to ask everybody watching this right now, please comment live if you're watching live. If you're watching the replay later, comment replay. Also, I challenge everybody here to share it with your friends, with your family, with your colleagues. If everybody does this, will be the biggest show in a minute. All right, so that said, let's talk about a few things, at least talk about our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Back Office Staffing Solutions, also colloquially known as BOSS, and colloquially is my word of the day. Back Office Staffing Solutions, Neil's company. If you are tired of the roller coaster, just the constant roller coaster, feast and famine, closing deal 1 month and nothing for 2 months, closing deal 1 month and nothing for another month, you need to get some contractors in your life, get some staff augmentation. It provides steady income. Plus, in a down economy, more companies use staff aug because they want to be able to control their own expenses. But contracting staff augmentation has a lot of teeth. Neil's company takes all those teeth out and basically handles the entire process for you. Anything back office wise, insurance, agreements, etc. Neil's got it covered. So if you're interested in that, all you have to do is go to Back Office Now. Do I have that? No, I don't. Here, let me do this here. Get started with the boss. Go to backofficenow.com /GMM. There's a great article or resource called the gross margin method, right? Go check out that resource. And on that same site, you can book a free 101 demo. Also, Chris right over here, he's not only a recruiter, but he also helps staff virtual assistants. So if you're looking for a VA who can source, because finding VAs who can source is really, really difficult. Chris knows exactly how to train and help you find a VA that can actually source, which is what most recruiters need. So if you're interested in that, all you need to do is go to chriswessel.com and book a call. And last but not least, if anybody here is looking to build out their sales and marketing systems, my company, the Digital Headhunter, we will build out your sales marketing system in 30 days, and we have a 90-day ROI guarantee. I'll just leave it at that. If you want to learn more, I've got a 10-minute video explaining my offer in detail. Go to thedigitalheadhunter.com /build. All right. So with that said, let's actually talk about the man of the hour, Daniel Miller, also known as Dan the Man, or as I call him, Daniel the Manual. So you ready to bring him on? Let's do it. Daniel, here we go, sir. Let me put you right in the middle. There you go. Now you're the meat in the middle in the man sandwich. So,
hi guys.
Jeez Louise, someone had extra coffee today, huh, Mr.
Oh, I did. It's been a good day. It's been a good day. Didn't even have to use my AK. So, Daniel. Oh, Neil, you're about to say something?
I was just going to say, you're more DSP than usual. There's a certain DSP-ness to you. DSP-ness, N-E-S-S, DSP-ness.
Oh, I know what you really mean. Daniel, so for those of you who don't know who you are, tell us, who are you?
Who doesn't know who you are? What? Who doesn't?
Yeah.
Oh, are we talking about the people who don't know who they are?
Well,
Daniel,
thank you for having me on.
Let Daniel talk.
No, thank you for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. It's nice to be on today. And just a quick background on me. I grew up in the franchise MRI network world, starting as a researcher, and I did all the fun stuff you could do in an ATS back in the early 2000s. And then ever since then, I've been involved with recruiting agencies, staffing firms, corporate hiring departments, and essentially helping everyone with their recruiting efforts. And since 2019, I've been running an ATS platform organization to help the staffing and recruiting industry.
Well, let's dive into that here, because what I want to talk about today is applicant tracking systems. And I know ATSs aren't sexy, right? It's not a sexy topic necessarily, but it is a vital topic because every single recruiter watching this has an ATS, and they don't have an ATS, they desperately need one, right?
It's the backbone of your business. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I will say, I've had bad ATSs, I've had good ATSs, and everything in between. And so I know that having a great ATS can really make your life a lot easier. Having a bad ATS can make you feel like you're swimming with concrete boots on. So I guess let's start here. You know what? Give us a kind of overview of like what is your experience with ATSs? I know you've developed this ATS, but what kind of led you there? Because it had to be for a reason. Like, why did you do this? Because there's a lot of ATSs out there in the market. Why start another one? Do we need another one?
It's a great question. There's so many out there. So what did I do? And what's the point? So I feel like if we take a step back and look at the ATS world, a lot of it is like based off of 1990s CRM concepts, where you have like an old beast of a software, call it a contact record directory, and we're just adding stuff in. And then because it wasn't good enough, all the major players opened up marketplaces. And before you know it, you're in with all these licenses and all these things to make sure you get what you actually need at the end of the day in a software that's trying to keep up from the 90s to today. Since that time, there's been a lot of cool softwares coming up, but then they get eaten up by the bullhorns and whatever of the world, they get acquired, right? So, what I've realized is, a lot of these ATS systems forget about project management. They forget about the core qualities of what you need in a CRM. They forget that you don't want 20 other subscriptions. You want everything built in, so you don't have to think. You just have it there ready for you, so you don't have to train on anything and have another bill. And I think that's where some of the gaps were over the years, just a very high level side of it.
No, I mean, it makes sense because like a lot of times you have to pair a project management tool, like a Trello or Monday or something, along with your ATS, because like to track the status. I mean, yeah, there's workflows you can adjust in like every applicant tracking system, but they don't all do it the same, right? It's not a project management tool. It's just like status updates. And so it's not like coming from the same perspective. And like, I remember years ago, I remember thinking to myself, why can't my ATS, for example, the one I was using at the time, quantify like the dollar value of my pipeline? That just wasn't a variable, like stuff like that. Like, yeah.
It's important.
I think you're right. And I will say this. So you're saying Daniel, that having to go and integrate a million different tools and try to figure out and bang your head against the wall trying to figure out the tech stack, you're saying that's a problem?
It's such a problem that, now there's these organizations called Play and these amazing automation tools that have every integration possible. But again, it's living outside your ATS. So, it gets trickier. The more amazing the tool set gets, the ATS has to keep up. And I think integration should be just very inclusive, where you don't have to think. It's kind of built in, almost white labeled, embedded, if anything, so it makes your life easier.
Well, let's dive into that. So if you look at like say a good ETS, whether it's yours or others, because I know there's always other good ones as well, in addition to yours. But let's say a good ATS, right? I guess let's use ours as example. What tools potentially could it replace beyond just the candidate database itself? So beyond that, like what tools? should a good ATS have?
So, you know, when we did ours, we built a list of 34 we thought it should have, and I'm not going to drive you all nuts with 34 different things, but it's nice to have. There's like a list of recruiters nice to have list, right? So like e-signing should be built in. Calendar automation should be built in, right? If you want to transform a resume, transform a job description, you don't know how to take your notes in the resume and transform the summary into something nice. All that should just be inside your system.
Right.
Without
Edit the PDF or edit the document like in the system as opposed to download it, edit it, put it back in, whatever. Yeah, that makes sense. And the signing thing is a big deal too, because I use Adobe Sign, and yeah, to have that be part of your system, it seems like a no-brainer. But yeah, that's awesome.
Little things, but there's a lot. I mean, for instance, drip campaigns, triggers, automations that you just need every day. I wouldn't call them AI automations. It's just like simple, typical automations that should be in one place and not another software, right? Things that should be built in. Project management.
Daniel.
Chris, you brought up. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I want to interrupt you real quick. A little piece of advice for you. You know, you say it's not really AI. Call it AI and charge 50% more for it. I think that's how you do it, right? Just say it's AI. My
transparency.
This pen, I paid top dollar because it's an AI pen. So I'm just giving
This was really important to cut him
Marketing
off,
tip.
David. That was a really good
I know.
cut off of interruption.
I'm glad that we
Very
stopped
critical
it.
Sorry.
to the show.
Sorry, Daniel. Go ahead. I just want to throw that in there.
Go back to talking about my good point.
Well, I mean, it is a good point. Let's take even the VA world or any junior recruiters that are brand new. You want them to follow your process. You want them to make sure they're doing the right things. A lot of times when they get on a roll, how nice would it be to auto assign tasks that are inside your ATS to make sure they're on Indeed doing a company targeted search or a LinkedIn recruiter targeted search? Just little things like that, all built in. So you don't need, again, 30 other tools. Does that make sense? And again, there's 34 plus that I have, but I don't want to drive you all nuts today.
No, but and the price of all those things adds up too. I mean, if someone's assessing the cost of an applicant tracking system / CRM, and then they're like, okay, well, maybe it's more. I don't know how much yours goes for, but like maybe it's more than another one might cost. But it's like, what if you don't need this thing that costs you $50 a month, and this thing that costs you $30 a month, and this thing that costs you $100 a month?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, let me ask you this: when it comes to project management tool, which I'm assuming that's probably why you called it RecruiterPM, right? Because it was, I'd imagine, it's baked in there.
I see what you did there.
Is it similar to kind of like a ClickUp or Asana, where you can assign tasks to your team members or admin, and then you can see when the tasks are completed, like from from a manager overview? Like, is that the way it works?
Yes, totally. And you can custom make certain tasks so they have to fill out things when they're done with the task. Exactly, though. And it's a win. It's a win. We see people actually completing things. A lot of times when recruiters aren't filling a roles, it's because they forgot to do a certain layer of research or sourcing. So we're able to see that, especially again in the more entry junior level, or people that just need sticky notes. Think about it like a sticky note replacement to keep you on top of it,
And to answer the question on pricing, are you prepared to just address that? Because it's dirt cheap. I don't know how he does it. It's a fraction of the cost of the other ATSs when you add everything on. And the feature set, I know it very well. I've had several demos and I've shared it with a lot of people. The feature set.
Looks like Neil's frozen here. Did you first review, guys?
He is frozen for me.
Is significantly more, almost geometrical than the others.
Hey, Neil, could you repeat that last sentence? You froze for a minute.
I saw it froze. I just said it has geometrical features versus the others, and it's a fraction of the price. It's dirt cheap for what I've seen to be the best ATS by a guy that's constantly adding on the latest in technology without people having to go outside of it. So, Dan, I didn't know if you were prepared to talk about pricing today at all, but Chris mentioned it. So it's inexpensive as hell. I don't want to say cheap because that's the wrong word. It's inexpensive. You're going to save a boatload of money with a lot more features, but it's up to you how much you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I'll touch on it. I think it's important to touch on and how I'm doing it and the strategy behind pricing. owned a recruiting agency, I was super cheap with how much I spent on everything. And I have that mentality. So I act like a buyer as an ATS person, and I buy product features with purchasing power mentalities. So when I negotiate a contract with a company, let's say SMS, texting, emailing, I say, hey, all these recruiters, they need it at this rate or else they're not going to do it. And because of that, I was able to negotiate AI, SMS, mass emailing, whatever. And I was able to bake it in for $99.99 per user per month. And I don't need to take a huge profit, right, as the owner. And I'm just being real with everyone today. I'm sharing that among all these partners, but then this way we all get an amazing system.
What's the price again?
It's $99.99 per user per month.
That's extremely competitive.
That's not bad at all. Yeah.
And there's a lot of tools right in that price range that don't do as much as from what I understand yours does. So
I would imagine too, once you grow larger, right, this price is going to increase. Just like anything else, right? I mean, when you when you're building your customer base, you offer a pretty good price to get people in.
When private equity comes and knock in and they give them, $10 million, and they're like, "This needs to be $500 a month, buddy. Let's go."
So yeah, I mean, so not to like promote RecruiterPM, but it might be a good idea to get in now, kind of get locked in at like that early bird price, I suppose. Speaking of that, I want to talk about beyond just like project management tools. I want to talk about the candidate experience, because one of the big things that I think is a big issue for recruiters is the fact that our candidate experience sucks. I mean, we ghost on candidates all the time. Not us, but not people on this panel. But generally, most recruiters do. They ghost. The candidate experience is very good, and it's really, really common. So I think for a lot of recruiters, when the market is client driven, they're not going to care as much. But when the market turns, if you got a better reputation with your candidates, that's going to affect your ability to recruit when it's a candidate driven market. So, like, what if I were looking at ATS? How should I be looking at it in terms of the candidate experience? So, what should I be looking for?
It's a great thing to bring up. So there's a few things that are so important for us recruiters and the candidates. So this way it's a nice synergy. First of all, the apply experience. It needs to use AI. They should not be filling out anything. The minute they add their resume, everything's done. If you're adding screening questions, okay, fine, but it's really not ideal. You want to just make it as easy as possible. Add the resume, you're done. And then afterwards, it's nice to have one contact record that becomes a single source of truth, what I like to call it. And how you do that effectively when you have a team of recruiters is you don't want other recruiters to call that person if that person just emailed you, whatever. A lot of ATSs don't have email received logging, which is a huge issue. What that means is like if this candidate sent an email to anyone on the team, it's going to show up in the activities in the CRM. So your team is acting as a team and people aren't together hunting down one person. It doesn't look good. So again, that's candidate experience, making sure that you see where they're at in the process and putting different triggers if you want, or automations. Again, just be careful with that. It could be a little bit overwhelming to the candidate, but having these things are great. And then reporting. And those things, if you're on top of reporting on your pipelines and those different automations, it helps, and I would say those are the key things that help with candidate experience.
Okay. So let me ask you this: is that not imagine just baked into RecruiterPM, right? Again, not to promote, but sounds like you got that baked in, right?
Of course, yeah. The apply is piece of cake, and ever from there forward, it makes it really easy for candidates and recruiters to collaborate, text, email each other, everything in the system, and it's all synced. So it's pretty nice.
Okay. What about, all right, so same question, but on the client side of things. On the client side, obviously, I think most recruiters know about the client experience. We generally give a better client experience than the candidate experience, but again, like maybe providing visibility on a search or search reports, maybe a portal. Like, what should I be looking for from the client side perspective when looking at an ATS?
Everyone should have their own portal nowadays. It's a very normal thing. Clients should have a portal, recruiters, managers, candidates when they get hired. There should be portals across the board with any ATS you use. The client portal is a must when you want to show your clients that you have some cool tools that keep the process and you aligned and transparent. and it also makes everything a lot more organized. So I would say the hiring portal is a really nice to have for an ATS, and which is a client portal, a hiring manager portal, and they can leave feedback and have a little bit of a collaboration and see all the candidates in each step or whatever step you want. You should also have document control, which means like if you don't want a certain document to be shown to a hiring manager, it could be hidden or the main resume could be shown. So you want to be able to have some permission settings just in case you don't want them to have the actual resume or whatever. But these things are, help the client experience it. They feel like they get a technology day one, and it's like it justifies some of that, the cost behind it. So it's a nice thing.
It makes you look like you got your shit together, like basically, what I mean? Like I typically will send like updates to clients, whether it's just like a status update on the search or, the nicest presentation put together, it's in an email and that looks fine and good. But if you've got a portal that you're like, hey, all our status updates are in here, the progress is in here, like it would at a minimum give the illusion that you have it a bit more together than maybe your competitor does. And I like the permissions too on documents, because another thing is how many times most of us get like a god awful resume and we have to do a little surgery on it before it's ready for showtime. So we want to make sure that the maybe that original is definitely hidden and the good one is visible. So.
Well, and I would say as well, having a portal like that and build for updates, I think in my mind is incentive to work exclusively or maybe on an engaged basis or a higher level, because think about what a client from the client's perspective, they look at their own subjective like experience. For them, I think a lot of the reasons why they clients oftentimes will bring in multiple recruiters, 2, 3, 4, 5 recruiters work on a search on contingency, is because they feel like, okay, 1 or 2 may fall off, but I've got I'm getting more coverage, and I'm better guaranteeing the success of the search by bringing more people in. Now, granted, it doesn't really work like that necessarily when you bring a bunch of recruiters in, but from their perspective, it makes sense, right? If you don't know much about the business. So, and imagine that if you have a portal like that where it gives them visibility, so they know 2, 3, 4 weeks into the search that you're still working on it, you're still getting candidates in, you're covering the entire market. It kind of eliminates the need to bring in other recruiters to a certain extent. At least if you pitch it that way. At least the way I look at it.
If you had like the ability, like, how there's portals that like I've been a part of where, the customer has like a greenhouse portal for the recruiter or something like that, right? If it's working both ways, think of how much document management challenges there are in this business and how much information passes back and forth. I get a new job from a client and there's at least a couple emails where the client's sending me either a draft job description, couple the resume of the person who didn't take the job as a good example, benefit summaries, other like documents that maybe they need, like. So it would be great if like a client portal also kind of went 2 ways, like hey, just like you apply for a mortgage or something, right? They're going to give you a link that you go in and you're going to upload all your documentation. You do that with your CPA. You do that with, I go to CarMax. I bought a couple cars on CarMax. I go to CarMax, upload this here, bing, 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 you're done. You do the same thing on the client side, presumably, and be like, hey, put your job description here, put your benefit summary here. And like the amount of emails back and forth, like I go through, I have all in my Outlook, I have it, sorted by clients, and I have, sometimes by job order within clients, and there's all kinds of documents in there. And I try to, when I find time, and this is one thing a VA helps me with, is take those documents and upload them to the client's like file in my CRM, but like that's never fully up to date. So like, I feel like that saves, like document management is a big challenge.
It is a big challenge. Well, let me ask you this. So beyond, document management, project management, talk about candidate experience, client experience, these are all things you should look for in an ATS. What would be those things where if you just say, look, if you see this or don't see this in the ATS, run, right? What would those things be? I guess you can say red flags. What sort of red flags should people be looking for? And not the red flag where it's like, if the founder's name is not Daniel Miller, that's a red flag. We all know that. But no, seriously, what are some real red flags?
The red flags, the beige flags, whatever, all of them.
Sure. Yeah, no. Okay. So when I built the ATS, there was a couple of things that were like my dreams, like if I'm going to do this, I need this. And if I don't have this, it's not okay. Right. And part of that dream was AI in parsing. I need easy parsing. I need AI in search. I need easy search. I can do Boolean, But I want just like, what if I hire someone that's not great at Boolean? I want them to just press a button. It shows me all the matches in the system, right? These were the things that, like, if I didn't have, I would think there's no point of having ATS, right? So search, parsing, bare minimums, without a doubt, right? The CRM stuff, if it's not there, I don't understand an ATS without a CRM. It's just, that's why all these CRMs are becoming ATSs. Look at what's happening in the industry, because it's together. It's not separate. And if you are, you're screwed. Sorry, as an ATS, you can't do it. You can't be separate. It won't happen for 2024, 2025. So, it has to be this kick-ass CRM, kick-ass search, parsing, and then also, which you're not going to like to hear because we're on the recruiting agency world, but doesn't matter. You all have to hear this. If you're not connected and integrated to the job boards, you have an issue going into 2024 and 2025. There's a lot of candidates applying to jobs. You have to put jobs and job postings out there. It works. Everyone will want to argue with me on the agency side, but it works. And you'll want an ATS that's integrated no matter what with job boards if you choose to use that. But those are the key things, like minimums. Red flags if not there.
The dirty secret with job boards, kind of like Tinder, in the sense that, it may not so much nowadays, but I know back in the day, if you were, a single fella, single lady, you never really wanted to, or let's put it this way, if you had a boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, whatever, you would never ever say we met online. Now nowadays you can say that the stigma is there, but back in the day you would never.
Is it okay now, David, for us to say that we met on Grindr? Is that okay now? Okay, so
that's okay. Yeah, we did meet on Grindr, and which, by the way, is Tinder for old people, for grandparents. Grindr. But like job boards. But I think you. But Daniel, I think you're right. I think most agency recruiters, they say they don't use job boards, but a lot of them kind of do. But you never really want to know.
Every one of them turns around and posting. Like, they all have postings out there. Like they'll like, oh, we hunt, we search, blah, 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 and then you turn around and they all got postings out. So it's just like,
yeah.
At the end of the day, the clients really most of the time don't care. Like, some of us, they're like recruiting like purists that are like, well, I only look for passive candidates, which is like that was a nice marketing line for the last like 20 years, but like it's kind of ridiculous because everybody's passive, active, whatever. But like, it would be like, oh, we don't post. I mean, I don't post a lot only because most of the customers I work with, they have already posted. They've already tried it. So, but sometimes I post, sometimes I manage posts for customers. At the end of the day, they just want you to get the job done. And they really don't care. And if somebody gives you a hard time because they're like, I paid you this much and you posted, and then someone then you got a bad client. That's a different situation.
Well, I think it also comes down to, you want to show the client that you're spreading the market wide.
You want to show them that you're shouting from the rooftops about their opening, and you're using every angle possible.
Exactly, every single tool. Because I think no really good recruiter is just only going to post jobs and hope for the best. They're going to use all the different tools they have available. However, I will say this. It is interesting when you reach out to a client and you see you have a lazy recruiter that basically copies the posting, redacts the client name, reposts it and under their account. Although I think nowadays you don't see that as much because of AI, but still you have that. And what I used to do was I found a company that posted a job, like say an account, and in my case it'd be SAP, but posted like an SAP developer position. And I saw that the company posted on the same job board and I saw the exact same position. I reached out, hey, I noticed you're working with XYZ resources, and it looks like they've got the same job, the developer position posted on the same job board that you're on. Right? Kind of one of the must a little bit. So, because look, at the end of the day, if you're reaching out to a client, and they're using another firm, why not use the firm's name in your messaging to them? Why not? I mean, it's not like they don't know about the firm to begin with, right? Anyway, just a little tidbit there that you.
No, that does bring up a good point about drafting like job postings, job descriptions, because I think that's another great component of a good ATS is like prompts and suggestions and like kind of AI or whatever you want to call it that is like helping you draft and helping you brainstorm something, because sometimes sometimes I have clients that don't have a job description and I do have to create something to send to candidates, even if I don't post it. So like you're sitting there staring at a blank piece of paper and like, you just got to get some words down. I mean, you're going to change it, but sometimes you need some prompts and you need some suggestions. So. Does it do that as well? Does it have like that kind of like job posting building functionality?
It's meant for so we have two platforms. The staffing recruiting agency will make it a confidential post as if it's a client based off your notes and the job title and the company name. It will create a confidential posting for you.
Well, so like, less about the whether confidentiality, but like, will it draft? Will it suggest wording? Okay, perfect. Yeah,
it will do everything. You just have to take your notes or just the job title. It doesn't matter, and it will do everything for you.
It's a big time saver.
Now
and it might rate better than you would.
Well, and let me ask you this: does RecruiterPM integrate with most of the major job boards? You know, Indeed, Monster, Grinder, Career Builder. Who am I missing? Dice. Should I just slip that one in there?
So we have a couple different things. We have organic job posting, which you get free organic applications coming with like Monster, whatever. But then you can always upgrade things on those actual platforms direct. And if you don't have enough applications coming in, we have another integration with an ad agency that will programmatically with AI send your job out to the right job boards, from Career Builder to Dice to whatever. So we have multiple options for you in job integration.
Daniel, someone asked, can you share your screen and show? People want to see a little bit of it. Would you mind giving a little look under the hood?
We got some audio distortion going here too from somewhere. I can't tell. I've been muted.
Yeah, I can't tell where either. There's definitely out of distortion. Hey, Daniel, are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, of course. I'm just loading the demo right now. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries, man.
One moment, and I'll share it in just 1 second.
And if whoever's not talking mutes, maybe that'll help.
Yeah, I'll mute.
Okay, there it was. It was Neil.
Entire screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, got it. There we go. We are sweet.
Okay,
all right, let's check it out.
So this is a manager admin dashboard at a recruiting agency that happens to do contract staffing as well as direct hire, just so you understand what page we're on. And, you know, throughout our whole platform, we have automations and AI embedded in. So you can create your own scheduler links like a typical Calendly experience. But again, you don't need that extra subscription. You can see how busy your team is from a project management perspective. But this is just the admin dashboard, you know, that allows you to see how your office is performing and where you're holding with everything from interviews to revenue to distribution of roles. But then throughout, you'll be able to, you know, add jobs, add companies, add contacts, add resumes, but the AI is kind of working in the background. So when you're adding in contacts, everything's being parsed for you and turned into structured fields. And then our AI allows you to do advanced searches and everything fun like that after you drag and drop or add in hundreds of resumes, whatever. So I'm just going to take you into jobs for a moment. Any questions so far before I take you in? I'm sorry.
On the dashboard, just real quick, where it had like a revenue number. Now, is that like placements or is that like pipeline? I'm just curious because you know how when you're running a team or just running a solo desk, you're thinking about both numbers, right? What does that represent in this case?
In this case, you have everything. So you see your total revenue that you build out so far, but then you have your potential revenue.
Oh, that the 2 million is the pipeline. Okay, gotcha. I got to get a new contact prescription or something. My eye doctor was like, you can either see things that are up close or everything else, and I went with everything else. So okay, I see the 2 million now. Okay, now it's good to know because that was something I missed years ago when I was managing a team. Was I wanted like RATS for whatever reason didn't have a monetary aspect to it, and I'm trying to like drive this team and motivate them and to hit particular revenue goals. And I needed it to illustrate like the value of the pipeline and like what had been booked so far and like that kind of thing. And that's such an important aspect when you're running a business.
Oh yeah. And every employee will have their own dashboards that show their own numbers.
Oh, the stuff that they're working on. Okay.
As well as their own metrics, KPIs, ratios, you know, and a lot more reports too, to see like how many days does it take to deliver the candidate versus how many days does it take to actually hire them, to show that it's the interview process slowing down the recruiter, not actually the recruiter. So there's a lot of cool stuff baked in to make sure you can see true performance and not just totals, right?
And by the way, one quick note about that with regards to performance and stats. So obviously, you know, with what I do, I help search for owners and recruiters scale their sales and marketing systems, and we do a lot of custom messaging. And one of the things I've found that works really well, because when it's hard to differentiate yourself from other recruiters, because we're all putting asses in seats, we all find the best candidates, we all have the best experience, we're all niche, all yada yada. We're all saying the same thing. But when you could say, our average search result is we submit 5 to 7 vetted candidates in front of you, ready to interview, excited about your company in less than 7 days, or whatever your numbers are. And every industry is going to be a little bit different, but if you can actually put those numbers out there, it is a good differentiator, right? And but being able to track that, I think, is really, really important.
And just to highlight what you're saying even more so, you can dive into a certain client account and see how you're performing with that client versus other clients in that industry. So you can do industry reports as well as client, employee, candidate sources, where your opportunities, which are your leads, are coming from. But then you can really break down that one account or anything you want into total submittals, how many submittals to make an interview, how many interviews to make a hire. Remember, this is a demo site, but at least you can kind of see, you get that full picture, and then you can really dive into having those conversations with your client, like, hey, your interview process is taking too long. We're a lot faster usually, right? And these
you
are
do
the
this by client too, like the job orders on that client. That's pretty cool. And so one area where I find a lot of applicant tracking systems I've used over the years to be very lacking, and this, again, looking at this from a manager's perspective, like when I was running a team, is, or even when I'm just running my own individual operation, the reporting capabilities suck on a lot of them. So like all of these data points that you're drawing from to do these reports are in most ATSs, but they're not able to be manipulated in a way to present you with like actionable data. You know what I'm saying? Like that, you're everything that happens in ATS is going to be time stamped and date stamped. And theoretically, you could do things like your time to fill or your other stuff you're reporting on. But in some of these systems, including some that I've used and used for a while, there just isn't like, it'll go to, oh, here's our reports dashboard, and here's like a couple widgets on a few things we thought might be helpful, and no ability to customize. Like that is a real problem in a lot of these systems.
I came from MRI. Everyone had their own KPIs. I did job order leads. He was doing business development. This one did recruiter. This one had a full desk. Everyone's different. So not only do you want to see your own office and the KPIs you set and set your goals for your office and your own ratios, you want to do it individually for each employee, completely separate, and have those dashboards made for you. So we can customize every employee in here with different numbers and analytics. So this way you get what you're looking for. Does that make sense? And whatever ratios you need.
But no, that's great though. I mean, it's a very robust like reporting component, and I don't want to dwell on this piece too long because I know you want to show us other parts, but I want to underscore the importance of good reporting and analytics in one of these systems. Otherwise, it's not going to be as useful as a management tool to run a business.
Agreed. You can find your trainers.
Now, the one thing I would say about this as well, and I don't know if this is something that you baked in here, but actually, I'm actually pretty excited to dive into this and explore it myself. But I will say, for being a marketer, I send out emails to my mailing list every day, right? And I've used different autoresponders. You have ActiveCampaign and ConvertKit and all kind of jazz, HubSpot. And I moved to a service called Berserker Mail a couple years ago, and their big thing is simplicity. Like they're known as click Nazis, right? Where like we want the least amount of clicks to do a thing, and it's been a godsend. I literally go in there and like it's 2 clicks to send a mass email to my mailing list. It's really, really easy. And so I'm sold on the power of simplicity. So one thing I wanted to ask you about this is, have you thought about that and going in? Because obviously you want to have a lot of features, but at the same time, there's the competing priority of not making it too complicated, right? And sometimes those are on polar opposites. So how have you managed that? Keep it simple enough to use for your average Neanderthal recruiter, and yet with enough widgets and tools and toys to really kind of enhance your productivity. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Do you mind if I stop sharing and I'll share again in a moment, just to talk about that for a quick moment?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay?
Yeah, let's go for it.
I'm going to just come right back to the screen. So when we made the ATS, I had to make this like Google stupid easy friendly. And the reason being is my business partner doesn't like anything complicated and hates technology. And if it wasn't like super easy within 1 to 2 clicks to get everywhere, I don't want it. So that was our mentality with every feature function built in.
You need Apple and Android both going. You need the 2 different experiences, right? Like that's, sorry, go ahead.
That's why I like Apple.
You're right.
I may hate the company, but I love their products. Love their products for that reason.
But you're right. And that's why I had to hire a separate UX UI team. I realized early on in developing a software, you can't have your developers do everything. You need a separate design genius element. And so everything we do, even when we bring on a new partner, we're saying, how can we be in the same process where maybe you just see another option in the menu? Do you know what I'm saying? So, that's kind of how easy friendly we're doing things. Like right now, and I'm not supposed to talk maybe too much about it, but me and Neil are creating an integration, and me and him are figuring out what's the easiest way, what's the less amount of clicks where I can send whatever I need to Neil's company and make it almost so simple where they're not thinking, and now they're signed up with an EOR and everything's ready to go. These are the thoughts we have when we bring on a partner. And so when you see the next thing I'm about to show you, like even email lists, whatever, it's just a list. It's a select all, and you can email, text, you could do a drip. Everything is pretty much within a couple clicks with that mentality.
Excellent, excellent. That's pretty big. I think we'll kind of wrap here. Actually, Neil, do you want to ask a question? I think you had something.
Oh, I was good. Well, no, I was going to say, what's interesting is I know the product really well, having done a lot of demos, and I personally endorse it, as Daniel just said. In fact, anyone who transfers people over to Boss, we're going to subsidize and take care of a free ATS for you. You could save thousands and thousands a year. But what's really cool is we had our pre-show like we always do, and Chris and David have no idea what's in it. And every question you asked, he has an answer to. And I haven't seen that with any ATS. He has a solution for it already out there. I've never seen anything like it. And I urge everyone to do a demo of the system. And, before we wrap, maybe show a couple of other high features, since we started a couple of minutes late. But, it's a testament to what you put together, not knowing what questions are going to be asked. And you have, boom, here's what we do, here's what we've done, here's what we have.
I'm going to get a look at it. I'm going to book because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in there. I'm very curious, and I definitely want to look at it some more myself too. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, and actually what Neil said is right. We're not BSing. And that last question I asked about the simplicity, because I'm a big simplicity guy, because so many pieces of software. When I went to my autoresponder, I was sold on simplicity. I never realized an autoresponder could be that simple and easy to use, yet so like robust and powerful. And so when I asked that question of you, Daniel, I really had no idea how you could answer that. So that's fantastic. So I'm definitely going to do a demo as well. And by the way, if you want to show a couple more features, let's do that. But real quick before we do so, if you guys want to do a one-on-one demo with Daniel the Manual himself, visit RecruiterPM.com. You can book it right there on the site. And make sure, if you do a demo, make sure you heard about it on the Headhunters live show. And make sure you call him Daniel the Manual.
Thank you.
That said, are there a couple more features you want to show us before we wrap here in a few minutes?
Yeah, I just a couple of things more on the AI fun, and then we'll be done. Sound good?
Sure. Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll wrap here in about maybe 5-10.
I'll keep it quick then. Hold on. Let me just share my screen one more time. And we should be good. You can see my screen now?
Excellent. Yes, yep, we're right there again.
Awesome. So here's the open job screen of all the active jobs. So if anything, I just want to show you where the play area is for recruiters, right? If a client calls them, as they type the client's name, they can see all the roles, see all the pipelines, who's in each stage of each pipeline, and really dive into each one by clicking in. So you can see everything just within a click. But when you go into a role, this becomes the recruiter play area, so to speak, right? Where you post a job, where you distribute, where you search, you can campaign. Everything's in one place. So within our area here, and I want to just start showing some of the AI that will help people. Our career pages allow people to one-click apply, which is nice, and everyone has that built in, so they can apply, and with the resume, they're done. Within the job posting module too, we have a generate AI job description. So we'll take your notes, the title, and generate any job description using OpenAI. You can then send it out to all the job boards with one click, so it gets sent out. Or we have an AI programmatic relationship with an ad agency, which means it based on the job description, it sends it to the right job boards, especially niche job boards and everything like that, and sets it to the right budgets based on performance. So that's some of the fun AI. And then as we dive in, this is the search experience. So you can search within the system, the applications come in, you can build lists, and in the list, you can essentially do all your mass campaigns, your mass emailing with the click of literally just a button, send an email, and then you can start sending off the campaign and start tracking analytics. And then the pipeline is a nice drag to drop experience that your clients will then have access to if you want to leave feedback, and you can see the feedback. And then
it's amazing. It looks like HubSpot.
That's
Looks like HubSpot, with all the CRM features that I haven't seen in an ATS.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to make it easy. And then the last thing I'll show you, and then I'll leave it at this, is on a contact record, you can ask the AI anything to summarize the notes and the resume, whatever. And in the background, it's typing, so you don't see it typing, but it will create whatever you want. But then you can edit the prompt, and it will use the notes on the person and the resume to create interview questions, summarize emails, whatever you need. It will create for you based off your OpenAI credits we give you instantly. Does that make sense? And it's all kind of baked into the system for you day one. And then it uses all your notes and everything, so you don't have to think of those emails to your clients. Boom, you're done, right? But that's the fun for today. I thought I'd show you. There's so much more, but don't want to drive you all nuts. I know everyone's got a busy schedule on it, today. So.
Yeah, we'll start wrapping here, but Daniel, it was a great show, and it was great to look at it. I'm seriously impressed. I'll check it out. I've used a lot of ETSs in my day, and some are really good. Don't get me wrong, but I've also used some that are just unnecessarily complicated, very hard to use, et cetera, et cetera. So this is really cool to check it out. And so I would recommend for everybody, go check out the demo. I'm going to actually schedule a demo myself, Daniel. Hope you don't mind, but I really want to take a look at it and see what it's all about. And check out that simplicity. Well, that said, guys, before we wrap, Neil, Chris, do you guys have anything you want to throw in there? Any last minute questions for Daniel before we wrap things up?
No.
I don't want to open a can of worms. I'll ask one question. Next thing you know, we'll talk for another half hour, so I'm good.
All right, excellent. Well, folks, that said, thank you very much for tuning in for the Headhunters Live. It was a really, really great show. And Daniel, thank you very much. And by the way, for those who don't know, Daniel is also going to be a guest host occasionally. So if Neil's out, Chris is out, Daniel may be able to come in and do a little guest host action. So you'll be seeing more of Daniel here in the future. And he's a great guest, and he'll be a great ghost host. So really, really looking forward to that. All right, guys. Well, that said, one last thing. Don't forget, if you interested in a back office solution, go to backofficenow.com /GMM for the gross margin method resource, or just go to backofficenow.com and book a demo. If you're looking for a VA that is trained to work with recruiters, go to chriswessel.com. And last but not least, if you want a sales marketing system built out by this handsome fella right here, and yes, humility is my best quality too, go to thedigitalheadhunter.com /build. With that said, guys, thank you, Neil. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Daniel. And we'll see you all next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.